Manga authors are odd. For example, this guy ate his pet goldfish, this guy says he believes in female supremacy, and this guy was an adult video director. But did you know there was an author who voluntarily decided to become homeless not once but several times, and because of it became an award-winning author? So not only is the manga industry filled with so many atypical, unique entities, it's often coupled with unparalleled masterpieces of storytelling. Like, you mean to tell me a homeless man, a man disturbingly fixated with feces, a relentless self-destructive drug fiend, and a man who is commanded to end his own life, each somehow birthed enthralling, unique manga? And it's because of their one-of-a-kind life stories that they've found success, which you all should know about. Hashish, cocaine, acid, magic mushrooms, LSD, practically every drug imaginable is fuel for the endless creativity that this man produces, like in this. Each chapter is just a single page, and in the format of a contact sheet, the 53 panels were actually full pages shrunken down to fit just right here. The story seamlessly transitions from panel to panel, spanning across various worlds. Take a look at this. We start in a bar playing some billiards until someone shouts out to Spinoza because a man is about to knock the daylight out of him. But the act of him getting knocked out holding the cue stick is kind of reminiscent of someone holding a fishing rod, and that's where the scene transitions to. Like, on this single page, we go from a billiards playing bar to fishing up a giant beast to getting knocked out in a boxing match to floating on a spaceship to being in a group of scavengers in a forest. But this is only the tip of the iceberg of the infinite genius sparked from his, unorthodox inspiration methods, which is on display in full force with his most popular work, Ultra Heaven, and it's a really fascinating one, since it takes place in this futuristic world that is run by psychedelics. There's Peter Pan, Pequilla, Alice, Nirvana, and of course Ultra Heaven. Each of these are powerful legal hallucinogens that run the world. Let's say you're having a terrible time at work. Bang, take some Pequilla. Or how about it's a regular old Saturday, just pop some Peter Pan and the day's over like that. Every single aspect of life now revolves around the consumption of these mind-altering substances. And for our main character Kabu, he's seeking something very few have ever experienced, a high that is so transcendent that one can only get a taste of when on the verge of overdosing, and nothing can replicate that feeling he once had. Peter Pan doesn't do it, Alice, that shit's trash, and Pequilla, come on. But it's all until he gets his hands on some Ultra Heaven. What truly captivated me was the unreal creative paneling used to vividly convey the inebriated mental state of a main character. Koike's greatest strength lies in what he once said in an interview that perfectly captures the essence of what each of his manga are all about. I want to describe the moment when the boundaries between dream and reality fade. Very particular states of consciousness that certain substances allow us to access quickly. The whole difficulty then is to account for them. Words, everyday vocabulary, the usual narrative logic are inappropriate, so we're forced to invent other frameworks. Now let's hear a little bit about the sponsor of this video, Skillshare. On the topic of inventing other frameworks in the realm of reaching your maximum potential, one aspect that I've been looking to improve on is my creative script writing. And with the class YouTube Success, Script, Shoot, and Edit that I took by Marquez Brownlee, it has given me the perfect perspective on how to approach creating a new video, which I can say has taken me to the next level. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives, offering thousands of classes across a ton of categories, like illustration, photography, productivity, and animation. And one thing I get asked a lot is how I edit my videos, and with this class covering After Effects and Skillshare, you can get that little leg up to make something creatively unique for you. Skillshare has recently made some exciting updates too. They've introduced smarter class categories and 3 new topics: creative careers, creative inspiration, and AI and innovation. You can even find classes tailored to specific software and materials. When you join, Skillshare helps you personalize your experience by surfacing recommendations that match your goals. And with back to school season here, it's a perfect time to dive into learning. So if you're ready to start your creative journey, Skillshare has something special for you. The first 500 people to use my link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Why not get started today? Now, what if on the opposite end of the spectrum, creativity emerged not from the altered depths of your mental state, but from stripping yourself of absolutely everything? This is Hideo Azuma, a multi-time self-created homeless man, someone who ran away from his life as a manga author to want to eat out of a trash can. But Why did this happen? Why would he choose homelessness that lasted for years? To start, Azuma made his professional debut in 1969 in the magazine Manga, and in the 70s, after releasing several different series covering various genres, he started to gain a little bit of popularity. But as I've discussed in previous videos, being a manga author isn't the easiest job in the world. The ridiculously long hours combined with the stress of needing to meet deadlines can add up for some people. So in the late 80s, when Azuma was working on several different manga at once, he reached his breaking point. The long hours, the difficulty keeping up with his schedule, the frustrations of having to yield to his editors, the lack of success his series was receiving, and the compulsive drinking to drown his sorrows away made him say, "Fuck this shit, I'm out." He just went up and left each of the companies he was a part of. However, the downfall started somewhat innocently. He just stayed at a friend's place for a while. But when this was no longer an option, he took to the street, finding a forested area where he could hide out. And it was kinda honest. He had bedding, he scavenged for food in the trash bins or stimulants on the ground. But best of all, he was away from the work that was causing demons in his mind. However, one night after doing his daily nightly scavenging for cigarette butts, he traversed way off his usual path, to somewhere he probably shouldn't have, where he encountered the worst possible person. At this point, he was interrogated and found out to be a suspect in a missing person case, where he was forced to return home and resume the grind he desperately tried to escape. Yet, if that was just his story, it would be kind of boring. So, years later, the cycle started all over again, this time with a more intriguing twist. With his prior experience, he had a little bit more freedom, so he indulged in various vices. However, in an unexpected turn, he was oddly pressured into a blue-collar job as a gas pipe layer, getting unwanted housing and work in a completely different town, simply because he was dodging his occupation as a manga author. And the entire time doing so, he had no real desire to continue the work, but felt like it would be more difficult to get out of it. Now, I've talked a lot about who this person is, and you might be wondering, what the hell? What is the manga this homeless person ended up creating? Well, everything I've told you is the manga. The autobiography about his homelessness became an award-winning hit, earning the most prestigious prize a manga can receive. In a more comedic tone, it explores 3 periods of struggle: his first experience with homelessness, the second time and how it led to him becoming a gas pipe layer, and eventually his time in an alcoholic ward. So if any of this has intrigued you, check out Disappearance Diary. It was a fantastic read. But if you think that's almost as bizarre as some of the people I saw at Anime Expo, wait until you hear about Shintaro Kago. This guy's taken the concept of strange and turned it into an art form. Kago is a pioneer of the eroguro genre, which is a blend of eroticism and grotesque imagery. He's even embraced the title of Kiso Mangaka, or a bizarre manga artist, which, trust me, it's an understatement. For example, he organized an entire film festival dedicated to the depictions of excrement. Yeah, you heard that right. Artists and filmmakers from around the world came together to showcase their unique work, all revolving around feces. And this is just scratching the surface. In an interview with Vice, Kago talked about his wide range of creative endeavors, including a side gig of making and selling figurines of shit and corpses. But what types of manga is a man so oddly fascinated with still creating? Well, his approach to storytelling is equally unconventional. He once said, "Basically, it's a question of how many stories I can come up with revolving shit or sex." Also, if you're enjoying, consider subscribing. Thanks. Now, personally, I find his manga tough to stomach. Body horror makes me want to squirm around on the ground like a worm with epilepsy. Yet despite my disdain for a lot of his works, there are elements in it that I absolutely love. Take the short story The Last Moments of a Manga Artist, for example. In just 4 pages, it presents the narrative from the most unique perspective I've ever seen. It's framed from the very page this manga artist is working on. It's as if the paper itself was a camera recording the author's every move. But as the artist works, she learns that her series is being cancelled, leaving her with nothing else to live for. With no income and a multitude of tragedies in her life, she would rather just end it all. So in the final panel, she does. And the same goes for so many of Kago's works. Yet throughout the various manga Kago has created, he's broken down the structure that makes manga what it is, and one of the most interesting demonstrations of it is in this. So, you know how manga typically are contained in boxes for our eyes to cleanly follow? You know, you go from the top right over to the left and follow that structure downwards. But imagine trying to flip that framework inside out, and if you do so, you might get something like this. So although I can't explain why the majority of his works can be so compelling, since I personally find them grotesque, disturbing, unpleasant, and make me want to peel my skin off, I adore the unbound creativity he can demonstrate. Not only that, in a vacuum, I can still admire art like this that goes beyond the repugnant stories he can produce. But if this Reddit post that says, "I like how he makes being dead sexy," describes how you feel, leave. But in the realm of body horror, I don't think you'll find very many manga artists that'll surpass Shintaro Kago. Honestly, the unparalleled originality of this man and his work is truly fascinating, almost to the point that it makes me wonder where the hell all of these thoughts could have originated from. And it just so happened that he's found a lot of inspiration from Shigeru Mizuki. Just someone who was demanded to end his own life, had his arm blown up by a bomb, but then somehow went on to become a manga genius. So what's Shigeru Mizuki's story and what types of masterpiece has he created? Born in 1922, he grew up in a small coastal town that would later become the backdrop for many of his works. From a young age, he was fascinated by yokai, an interest that would heavily influence his future as a manga artist, but unlike many of his peers, his path to success was far from ordinary. Drafted into the Imperial Japanese Army during World War II, he was sent to fight in the harsh environments of Papua New Guinea. It was during this time that he experienced horrors that would leave a permanent mark on him, physically, mentally, and creatively, which by the end of his departure left him stranded on Papua New Guinea, where he witnessed many of his friends' deaths. He even lost an arm in an air raid just before he was commanded to a death sentence. Yet despite the harrowing experiences, it cultivated in my favorite of his works, titled Onwards Towards Our Noble Deaths. It's based on the real-life experiences that he encountered. As a late-arriving low-ranking soldier, he was subjected to relentless beatings, a brutal consequence of his position. The manga immerses you in the harrowing experience of characters teetering on the brink of starvation, enduring grueling physical labor and harboring deep resentment towards their oppressive superiors. All of this before they even face combat. From the outset, the narrative is painted as a desperate crawl into hell. This is precisely why Onwards Towards Our Noble Death stands as a masterpiece. The weight of Mizuki's real-life experiences infuses the story with an undeniable power, making it all the more poignant. Personally, I've always had a soft spot for memoirs, so when you combine the extraordinary tale of Mizuki's life with his charming cartoonish art style, you get a story that deserves to stand the test of time. It captures the essence of the ordinary person caught in the relentless grip of war. But beyond the narrative itself, what truly draws me to Mizuki's work is his distinctive art style. Like, his backgrounds and some of the side characters are drawn in excruciating detail, but that's never the main focus. The focal point of the stories are all centered around goobers that look like this. These goofy ass looking characters give his story so much personality, as it's a clear artistic choice to make his characters look a little brainless and dumb in the head. And it's something that makes me want to take them out of my screen and place them on my desk like little figurines. And what I particularly like is that it's done intentionally. Look, he can clearly draw realistic characters, but chooses to make them look like this. This is genius. Onwards Towards Our Noble Deaths is just one of the many stories that deeply resonated with me. But what's remarkable is that this level of depth and artistry extends across all of Mizuki's manga, making each one a testament to his enduring legacy. If you're interested in his wartime depictions, his portrayal of Hitler offers a fascinating perspective. His experiences also give him a unique insight into themes of death and the afterlife, which is evident in his popular yokai tales like his most renowned work, Gegege no Kitaro. One lesser known but equally captivating story I came across from a previous video is 3 Streets of Mystery. But despite his resounding popularity in Japan, he remains a relatively unknown figure in the Western world, which is kinda a shame, so you should definitely check out his works. But he's just one of the many extraordinary individuals I've given just a glimpse into, each shaping their incredible stories I hope you'll explore in the future. Their unique experiences and quirks feel the distinctiveness of their storytelling, making each narrative captivating in its own right. I've thoroughly enjoyed diving into each of their one-of-a-kind lives and exploring their works, and I hope you have too.